Peoples. Back at it. BIGCED, Industry Cosign. What's my name? Oh yeah, BIGCED. I just said it already. Okay.
You got your name.
Yeah. For all those tuning in for the first time, my name is BIGCED. I've been in the game for about a couple of weeks now, so I said let me start doing this thing. The purpose of this platform is over the years I've been, I'm a journalist. I'm a so-called journalist. I've interviewed artists, sports figures, like so many people. But in my recent years, I'm sick of celebrities, and yes, I say that all the time, and I'm real about that. But on my platform, what I want to do is focus and feature people that I've known for years, even if I've known for months, but people that I've admired or respected and what they do or what they're doing. So that's where my friends are better than yours came up in a matter of all the people that you see me in this forum are good, all the people that I actually know and have known for years. And today I have Life Griffiths. I've known him for about 142 years, it seems. And
My age, brother.
what I typically do is, like, since I'm on LinkedIn and on so many social medias, I'm always kept abreast of what people do based on what they post or but based on what other people are doing. So every time, like I'm on LinkedIn several times a week or whatever, and I was like, wait, I haven't spoken to Life in a minute. And another good thing about this platform that I use is that most of the people that I do feature are people that, although I know I haven't had a conversation in a while, so I figure it'll be a double whammy where it's like, I get to have a conversation and then I get to catch up at the same time, even though most of the time I'll know. But every one of these, I always find out something I didn't know previously, even if I've known a person for years. But before we start, I would like for my guest to introduce himself. You can give a little brief intro, and then we can just get right into it.
Well, first of all, like I said, I've been knowing you for about 200 years. Just add more to what you said. First of all, thank you for having me on your platform. My name is Life Allah. Some know me as Life Griffith, which is my honorable name, but predominantly those within the music space or entertainment space know me as Life Allah. I'm a 5%er. I'll put that out there early, and I'm an active one. You know what I mean? Not the music one, but actively engaged in teaching still after all these years. Been in the game over 30 years, re-entering the game from a legal side now. A lot of stuff I did back then with promotion, marketing, just doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that a lot of people don't understand how the music business really works with the people behind the scenes. And a lot of us don't get a lot of what we call, say, forward recognition. So I've been away. I went back into the military, did a lot of things that I don't really talk about. And now I am establishing myself in the law area now. I'm a student at USC in entertainment law, of course, and just ready to come back in, man, because I really believe that the industry, for what I remember to what I know now, what I've been studying now, needs proper leadership, especially when it comes to us. We have a tendency to get caught up and get comfortable with the music side and not understand that we're giving away so much, and yet we have so little to really speak on it. You know what I mean? If you understand what I'm saying for those out there. So again, for everybody out there, man, if you remember me, I appreciate the thought. If you don't, hopefully through this conversation, you'll get to know me a little bit better. And I'm looking forward to making sure that you understand that my friends are better than yours.
You made a statement when you said that. I think you said you're doing things the legal way.
Yeah.
So does that mean you were doing things illegally before? No, I'm just joking.
No, I think we all be able to dabble with something illegal. You know what I mean? For those who understand. But yeah, I'm working on the legal side now. Like I said, I'm a law student in entertainment at USC here in California, and I just felt that education is a big, serious thing, especially with the AI scenario going on. You have to be re-educated, no matter what you think you know. You really don't know nothing at all, which is really the first step towards knowledge. So yeah, definitely the law.
We definitely have the AI conversation. I'm glad you said that, but let me go way back for a minute because we first met and we both were involved in the music game,
Yeah.
specifically with hip hop.
Yep.
And of course, you grew up. I believe you grew up in Brooklyn, right? In
I was
Queens?
raised in Brooklyn and moved to Queens,
Yeah,
North
yeah,
Farmers
something like that.
13th. Yep. Peace to all my soldiers out there, Farmers Boulevard.
Yeah.
So
So outside of that bad fact of growing up in Brooklyn and moving out to Queens,
yep. Best
uh,
of both worlds.
of course, I grew up in the Bronx, home of hip hop, in the heart
Yeah.
of it.
Okay.
And I know that our worlds collided because of the genre.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, before we get started with it, well, I guess we already started, but
Yeah.
before we get started with a full conversation,
Mhm.
what drew you to hip hop? And the reason why I threw in the New York aspect is because it's like, especially being our age, like that was kind of an automatic,
Right.
especially after disco, and we were too young for disco.
Right.
But what
Right.
drew you not necessarily to the genre of hip hop or listen to hip hop, but the
Mhm.
business of hip hop? Because a lot of people who enjoy hip hop but not involved in hip hop in that sense that
Yes.
we were and are today.
So that's a very important question. So what drew me to hip hop, I think people need to understand the difference between hip hop and rap. Rap is what you do, hip hop is a way of life, right? So coming up in Brooklyn, you said in the early 70s and all of that, we didn't have hip hop. Hip hop started in the late 70s, really started to make a buzz in the early 80s, which we call or 90s the golden era.
Yeah.
So I was a rapper way back in the heyday before I became an intern at Rush Artist Management. And me and my wife, she was one of the Fat Boy's girlfriends in the movie Crush Groove.
Oh wow. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
we had a son together and all that. Yeah, a lot of things people don't know about where I've been and all that. So for those that may not understand Crush Groove, that was the story of Russell Simmons, right? As far as what he did, Def Jam, the whole thing with Rick Rubin and all that. So I was a part of that early. And then in the early 80s, I started to listen to the world famous Supreme Team Show, BLS, and the many other things that we would listen to in my basement. So we would have block parties, what I mean, in Queens, and LL lived around the corner. I grew up with Run. We went to Andrew Jackson High School together, so we was all around hip hop. You know what I mean? And so either you, the three people, and this is how I got allegedly started. I was a Zulu king back in the heyday, chapter 5. Peace to all my Akis and my sisters out there. For those who know the infinity lessons, you know what I'm talking about, right? And then I got, locked into the 5% nation of gods and earths. You know what I mean? From a brother named Supreme Mind and the Law of Real. So I'm now in these two worlds trying to figure out which one am I really, you know what I mean, as it relates to who I am as a black man. And hip hop, as you all know, was definitely impacted by the gods. The whole b-boy stance that stand in your square, the cipher, where we all get together and build and add on. So what brought me to it was just what was going on around me. You were being influenced of what's happening around you, and then you get involved, you get in where you fit in. Now, how I became an intern at Rush, I had went in the military in '85. This was the crack era, the Supreme Team. For those who understand, I have a family member who was involved in all that heavy. You know what I'm saying? And so all those things was like, okay, do I want to get in these street life things, or do I want to do something with my life that's better? So I decided that, at that time to go in the military. While I'm in the military, you know what I mean? I'm hearing about LL and his deal with Def Jam. So I'm bugging the fuck out. Like maybe I shouldn't have went to the military. I should have stayed my ass here. But nevertheless, I got out of the military in '89. Started working with my wife. We had a group. Got signed to a company called Race Records in Boston, where I was stationed at Fort Devens. All types of stuff was going on. Ended up coming back to New York. Me and my wife fell out, got divorced, and all that. And I said, well, damn, well, what am I gonna do now? You know what I mean? I started to, try to figure my way out. So long story short, I ended up becoming an intern under Big D. For those who understand who Big D is, my man named William Robinson, we call him Cool Bill, who was the A&R man under Leor. John Scott, who was doing a lot of stuff with Leor, and I began to understand road management and managing at Rush Artist Management. For every damn near hip hop artist that was out there, either they was managed by Rush or they had the producer that was managed by
Yeah.
Jessica Sapero, you know what I mean? And then of course we had Def Jam, you know what I mean? So I was involved in all of that, you know what I mean? but behind the scenes. You know what I mean? I was there when Chris Lighty first came on board. All praises due to Chris. You know what I mean? I was there. Man, I was there with Rush Associated Labels, JMJ Records before Onyx. I mean, just we was involved in all that. So yeah, what led me to it, man, was the influence around me, the people that was around me, the mental things that was going on. It's like I said, you was a god, or you were, you know what I mean, you were Zulu, whatever you was, and I had a good thing where I was a part of all of that. And then I stuck with the 5% because it actually allowed me to grow and be better. I started to learn the business, and then I came out to LA and started working with Steve Rifkind before Loud Records and the Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. Not to be long-winded, but yeah.
No, it's cool. I'm gonna curtail it for a quick second because, like I said, growing up in New York, of course, Zulu Nation was like right there. Like I lived right near Bronx River,
Right.
so
you know all about that.
Yeah, and then I went to Music and Art in Harlem, and with Music and Art, every borough, because it was a specialized high school.
Yeah.
So that's where I came across to 5%ers.
Right.
So it like while you're talking about this, I literally just went back like 30 years, and I'm like, I've always wondered why it seemed that a lot of people that were involved with Zulu would end up being involved with 5% Nation.
Yeah.
And I just want to get a little insight, only because when you said that, it just, and that's the reason, like I told you before we started filming, it's always going to happen. You're going to say something, I'm going to be like, oh, you know what? And then like, I'm going to ask you because I think it's important only because, like I said, I've always been curious, and I'm pretty sure I've had this discussion with people in the past, but you brought back my youth in a second. So I was like, let me just ask that one question and get it out of the way because I'm curious again.
Yeah, very important. No, the Zulu and the gods had various interactions, connections in the street life. You know what I mean? Especially when it came to the lessons. Zulu had a thing called the infinity lessons, which you had to memorize, and this is the way we would be able to talk. The gods had 120 lessons, which came out of the mosque, but under the leadership and under the guidance of Allah the Father, it taught us what we call supreme mathematics. You see what I'm saying? Now, Kool Herc, I know you know the story about Kool Herc, because he come from the neighborhood, that he was influenced by the gods. So because of those connections within the streets, the gods was in the streets. We were teaching on the corners. No matter where you go, it was peace God. You know what I mean? How you see today's mathematics, the black man's God, right? Then you had African Bambaataa, African Islam, and all of them with the whole Zulu Nation. Then you had the conflict with the ball busters, if you remember that. You know what I'm saying? So I go back to those eras. I used to fight a lot, you know what I mean, as a boxer, not as a golden glove, but I was taught boxing and martial arts and all that. So a lot of that came from, as you know, the black spades and the gangs, you know what I mean, at the time. Now, because of those influences, you had to have your knuckle game right. You know what I mean? Your knuckle game had to be right. We wasn't actually killing it. We might have did a little stabbing and all that, you know what I mean? But the fight game was what it was, you know what I mean, at that time, you know what I mean? So yeah, the interface between the lessons, being righteous, having knowledge of yourself, because we remember hip hop was a way to deliver messages, right? The voice of the unheard, the voice of the youth. And of course, you put in the MC, you put in the DJing, you put in the graffiti, you do all these other things, and now you have a way of living, and we was a part of all that. So yeah, those two groups interface many times through affiliation. Some was on one side, some was on the other side, and some was in between trying to figure it out. But we were young, you know what I mean? We were young. We didn't have the proper guidance on how we should go. But what led me more to the gods, they just had more strength as it relates to the respect. And of course, the Zulus had respect based upon who they were and the name Zulu Nation. It just was something that you had to either be a part of or you was on the outside. And I was, fortunate enough to be on the inside and still am. I'm still active in the nation, still teach, even out here in California, young people. Did a big thing out here teaching a lot of the gang members, some of the Crips that wanted to get this knowledge. So I've been doing that. So I'm still active, man, and showing and proving that the black man's God. And that ain't going to never change. You know what I mean?
I definitely don't want to go down a rabbit hole because, like I said, that could be a 3-hour conversation on its own. So
no doubt.
We'll switch back. But I had to ask that question because, like, when you stated that, I was like, yeah, and the correlations was always there, and but anyway, so growing up in New York, being involved in those organizations with hip
Mm-hmm.
hop, and then when you actually got into the business of hip hop,
Yeah.
how were you able to? Because back then it was still new, so nobody knew what was
Yeah.
going to happen, or there were people that didn't expect anything to happen, and
Mhm.
now we have this global sensation that is never going to die.
Yeah.
My question to you is, at the time before you started working at the 842 labels you worked at, how are you able how are you able to navigate through that at such an early age and time and still be able to make it within the business? Because like I said, a lot of people fell off. I couldn't make it because once you put a business aspect to it, you lost a lot of people because people were talented, people were even intelligent, but
Mhm.
couldn't do anything business wise or within corporate. And hip hop wasn't corporate yet, but
Was
it
a
was
cook.
going towards that.
Yeah.
So how are you able to like navigate from your upbringing to
Mhm.
your to positions you've got? And you can name some of the positions you've had because you've had quite a few. So
I have quite a few, and I'm thankful and I've been blessed. But I think one of the biggest things, and I appreciate the question, navigation allows you to swim, right?
yeah,
A lot of people don't know how to swim deep waters. The business of entertainment, and this is something I just talked about yesterday at my panel at USC. You have a lot of people who are in the entertainment business,
yeah,
but they don't understand the business of entertainment, right? And so for me, coming from the military, coming from a structured way of thinking, and then of course having the knowledge of myself, it was I got to be more than just somebody out here clubbing it at the tunnel or the Palladium or you know what I mean or a red parrot or Bentleys. I got to be more than that.
yeah,
And I saw myself. I envisioned myself as an executive early. No, sometimes you got to forecast it early so you can see it as it is. So I had that innate ability to think about what I wanted to be and just started acting like I was that, even when I was at Rush Orders Management.
yeah,
When I was at Rush Orders Management, I would watch Leor, I would watch Russell, I would watch Big D, how they would conduct themselves. I would be at some of these meetings, you know what I mean, marketing meetings or label meetings, you know what I mean, somebody small, nobody important yet, and just studying how the brothers speak, the sisters speak, and the Caucasian man spoke. Notice what I said. The brothers
yeah,
and sisters speak, but the Caucasian man spoke, right? So I learned a philosophy while watching Russell and Leo. And I call it the Oreo Theory, right? Now people are like, what you mean the Oreo Theory, brother? You know what I mean? Well, you have the black cookies, two of them on the outside. You got the white cream on the inside, and we know cream from Wu Tang meant the money.
yeah,
So I'm studying Leo, who's running at the numbers. I'm looking at the brothers who's chasing the women. You know what I mean? I said, well, in order for me to do what I do, I can't be chasing no women. I got to chase the money. Because wherever the money's at, the women going to be there.
yeah, yeah,
You understand what I'm saying? And unfortunately enough, women are attracted to what they perceive as power,
yeah,
titles, positions, cars, sometimes the jury. But the biggest thing is status or status, depending on how you want to pronounce that. So as I started to learn how that really dealt with me as a human being, I said, okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna do now. I got a call from a Jewish brother who I was with yesterday at my panel named Evan Foster. He came out to New York City for what remember we used to have the music industry conferences and all of that. Yeah,
yeah,
and I did him a favor. Sometimes a favor for a favor goes a long way.
yeah,
And relationships go a long way if the relationship is right. So he came out, I took care of him. He said, if you ever in LA, make sure you call me. All right. So things are now starting to shift. Def Jam is going through some changes and challenges. Rush Artist Management is starting to kind of, Russell, is going on through some things. Leo is trying to figure his way. You know what I mean? So I said, you know what? I got to figure something out. So I jumped on what we call at the time Ghetto Airlines. That was Tower Air. You know what I mean? if you remember Tower Air, I took a flight out to California and I decided to stay. The first person I called was Evan Foster. Yo, you told me that if I was ever in LA to reach out. Well, guess what? I'm in LA. You a man in your word, because we say word is bond regardless to whom or what. You told me that when I get here to call you. Guess what? I'm here. He said, you here where? I said, I'm in Los Angeles. I need to come see you. He's working now at A&M Records. Tells me to come over. Next thing you know, I'm working with him at A&M Records with Clarence Avant, Don Eason, Miller London, for those who understand who these titans are. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I started learning from them. I was never, here's a funny thing about me, man, and I don't know where this comes from. I don't know if it's a military thing. When I was in the military, I was always in my leadership mode. And I always wanted to know what the generals knew. I didn't want to know what the staff sergeants knew. I want to know what the officers knew. And I took that and applied that to the music business. Who are the people in charge? Not the pawns in the game, no disrespect to anyone, but I want to know who's in charge. I want to learn from them. And that's how I was able to do it. And what Evan did, and he'll remind me every time I see him, even yesterday he reminded me about this. I gave him his first job. No, I was already working. You gave me my first opportunity. And that was with Steve Rifkind, working as Steve Rifkin's retail manager when he had SRC under his father, Jules Rifkind. This is before Loud. This is before Wu-Tang. This is before everything, you know what I mean, as it relates to that. And that was the golden era that I grew up in. I was always around or surrounded around the key leaders, and I wanted to be that. And that's what happened, you know what I mean, long story short.
So I'm going to fast forward because there's a lot in between, but I want to try to get to what you're doing now. And I'm pretty sure that you'll say something or I'll come up and come back. So that's my MO now. It's like you talk one thing, this, and you go back, whatever. Yeah. High-end media partners.
Yeah.
When did you start that? What's the company about? And I mean, we see Hemp. So, I mean, I'll let you explain what, and what you're doing. Like I said, I know this is going to curtail into the AI conversation because that's a very important thing today, even though I hate AI, but go ahead. I'll explain later, but go ahead.
So, all right. So now, all right, I'm going through my time in the music business. I'm now at Kadar Entertainment, and we're doing everything with Erykah Badu. This again, timing is everything about the game. For those who don't know, it's about timing, being at the right place at the right time with the right people and the right music and the right artists. So now here come Erykah coming out of Texas, dressed in 3/4 Earth clothes, right? Remember, gods and earths. No one's ever done that before. Same thing with all praises due to my brother D'Angelo. Kadar was managing him at the time, you know what I mean? Prior to him getting his imprint through Universal at Kadar.
Yep. So
what ended up happening was, and I don't have no problem saying this because, you know what I mean, a lot of people didn't know I was ex-military, right? And I had an incident with Kadar where, it was disrespectful, and I had to let him know I'm not that type of person. I'm a man of respect. And if you come with that disrespect, I'm going to have to show you who I really am. Because I never really told anybody where I come from or all that. Nevertheless, Chico the Bar stopped me for what I was about to do. You know what I mean? Shout out to Chico. Anyway, so when me and him had that falling out, I then created, some other things I was doing, and people were praising me. You know what I mean? Now, remember, I'm going to take you to something right quick, and I want to get to that question about Hemp and all that. In the 48 Laws of Power, the first degree says never outshine the master.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you study like I do, 48 is really 12. Knowledge and wisdom. Mathematics now, right? I was doing a lot of stuff that people were hearing about, including Kadar, and it became a conflict where he felt that I was using his outlet to do what I was doing outside of Kadar, which was not the case. I was so focused on what I was doing at Kadar, I had other people doing stuff for me. Yeah. And it came back where I was trying to, use his resources, and that wasn't the case. Anyway, so I left. Kadar didn't renew my contract, and I started to work at the Orchard. This is when it was in Chinatown.
Wow, yeah.
In Chinatown. This is when it was small, boutique, hand to hand, and I was the urban director of artist development there. I started to realize something, that the music business was changing and I was changing. I was no longer wanting to be a pawn in somebody else's game. I'm making everybody millions of dollars. I'm still, eating, francs per se. I mean, I was getting money, but not real money. I didn't understand the nature. I thought, this is what I thought from what I learned in the street, that the code that we live by in the street was supposed to carry over in the corporate world. I found out very quickly that's not the case. I was so loyal to the mission from what I learned in the military that the people and the places I was going wasn't loyal to me.
Yeah.
So I got a call from one of my sergeants that I worked with in the military asking me, yo, Life, we need you to come back in the military. I said, for what though? I'm done with that shit. I'm on something else right now. Yo, we need people, like we need soldiers to see, leadership. So I thought about the weighing of the two. In the year 2000, I left the orchard, went back to the military, and then the next following year, 9/11 happened. Now I'm at war. I'm now stationed at Fort Devens in Washington State on my way to Iraq and all that shit, what was going on. Because I was the only person from New York in my platoon and in my company, they sent me back to New York when 9/11 happened to pick up bodies at the Twin Towers because I was a combat medic. You understand? So now I'm dealing with all that. I'm no longer in the music business, but they did a big story on me in the military about how this veteran who went in the music business came back home to save New York City in the sense of my service as a military guy. Now you ask the question, where did Hemp come from? So as I'm now getting into the cannabis world, right? Queens get the money. I'm gonna just put it out there like that. All right, Queens got to get the money regardless to whom or what. No offense to other borough, right? Queens, we find ways. And for those who don't know, Bronx made a created hip hop, but Queens is the business of hip hop. That's a fact. We understand the business of hip hop, right? And you can look no matter way. We did the whole thing. All right. So now I'm now teaching my veterans how to get off the opiates, the drugs that the VA is giving us. And I'm using not cannabis terminology. I'm not using marijuana terminology. I'm using hemp terminology because that's legal across the 50 states. And I'm using federal laws to do what I'm doing across the country, teaching veterans how to get off the opiates and get on hemp. So now I get a call, another call, mind. I keep getting calls from people that know me, right? I get a call from my man who's now in Afghanistan. Yo, Life, you need to come to Afghanistan, yo. There's money out here. What? You need to come to Afghanistan and get out here as a civilian because there's tax-free money. I'm thinking like, yo, you know what? Everybody doing the same shit out here. I get on a fucking plane, excuse my French, and I'm in Afghanistan now. But while I'm in Afghanistan, I'm thinking about the hemp thing. And I'm also thinking about my passion, music. So what did I do while I was in Afghanistan, dealing with all that shit out there that was going on at the time? I started writing down, how do I merge hemp and music together? What did I come up with? High-end music partners, creativity on a higher note, merging the cannabis hemp into the music because everybody gets high in the music industry, either off of music, off the plant life, or just the life in general. So I said, let me bring it all together. As I'm bringing it all together, I start seeing shit in my head like, okay, okay, I could do this, I could do that. The next thing I know, it becomes now high-end media partners because now you're dealing with TV, film. You're dealing with all these things that I know that I'm a part of. Hence, hemp, high-end media partners, creativity on a high note, and here we are. You know what I mean? Here we are, and what's interesting about this, it's still new. I'm still in the infancy stages of building it, and I say that because now I'm in law school. You know what I mean? And I was always taught to educate yourself ahead of the game. Don't just take what you remembered yesterday because that shit is gone. Start thinking about 10 years in advance. I start thinking about AI. Now let's talk about the AI thing.
Yeah.
I said, okay, AI, artificial intelligence, what would make a person create a system that's smarter than itself? Because if it's artificial, it ain't official. Then I started breaking down AI. All right, we got a lot of motherfuckers out there, excuse my French, that's arrogantly ignorant. AI. Then I'm like, yo, I got to get active and become very, right, insightful. AI. Then I got to get what? I got to be an asset so I can invest in AI. And I just started learning AI. I started learning the generative AI, the various terms of AI, how it's going to change the game as a tool, and some, unfortunately, as a replacement. You know what I mean? As it relates to the skill set. And then I just started saying, okay, high-end media partners will be an AI consultation, partnership engagement, and special event firm helping independent artists and companies how to maximize efficiency using a cost-effective measure, and how to utilize what I learned in the military and in the streets and in the corporate world to help these young people understand the science of ownership, the science of building, and scale and for equitable base, and then ensuring how to be professionals in a room and look like one, talk like one, and be one using a military approach. And that's what I'm doing now.
But with AI, if it replaces, and how can no, I'm just like, okay, this is, and I've literally had this conversation in probably 80% of my episodes thus far,
Definitely.
coincidentally, when it comes to AI.
Mhm.
And I always say the same thing, that we came up the Terminator as a movie,
Right.
iRobot, things of that nature, and that scares me because
Why?
does well, I mean, the results of what happened in the Terminator with the robots taking over and iRobot, that's what I mean, not the actual technology of artificial intelligence,
Mhm.
but the concept behind the AI
Mhm.
being able to outsmart
Mhm.
humans
Yeah.
and then taking over.
Yeah.
And they say life imitates art, but at the rate we're going, art might imitate life, and then we might be like, we won't matter. And when I say we won't matter, I mean in terms of, like, they're already saying that AI is in position to take away a lot of positions depending on what type
That's
of
correct.
work.
That's correct.
And I know that there are people that are trying to make it known that AI is destroying, I think, like how it's set up and how it's generated and things of that nature, that it is affecting life in such a direct way,
Mhm.
even for people that are probably using it 3,000 miles away, and
Mhm.
people don't realize that.
Mhm. Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that? Because, and like I said, I know there's different aspects of AI.
Right.
I'm still stuck on I'll be back with Arnold Schwarzenegger and these robots coming back.
Right.
But I've also softened my stance only because I've also realized that I've been using AI for years with my GPS, with
Right.
certain things. So,
Right.
but let me hear from your point of view.
Mhm.
First, the aspect of AI destroying.
Mhm.
Destroying is, well, I'm gonna say that's kind of a strong word, but I guess it is when you think about it long term. But AI destroying opportunities for people.
Mhm.
I think stupid people destroy opportunities for people. But anyway, that's something different. But let me hear your thoughts on AI in that manner.
Well, let's understand that the industry and all industries go through changes every 5 to 10 years. It
Yeah,
has to adapt to a new type of technology in order to survive, right? It also has to go into the changes of the workforce. The workforce is a very expensive medium. They got to find cost effective ways to still get the shit done in a matter of minutes, right? AI, when you understand how to integrate the different tools, remember, it is a tool. Like any tool is there to solve a problem.
yeah,
A lot of times we have a human problem, right? Unfortunate to say. We have a personality problem. We have a psychological problem with humans, right? That's just the reality of human habit.
yeah,
Now, with AI, right, I can prompt, I got some licenses and some stuff in prompt engineering. I'm giving it instructions and telling it what to do, right? Because it's learning from me, it's learning from what I put in it. it is a language we call LLM, right? This language is deciphered in certain ways through what I would say as a God through mathematics. You know what I mean? And mathematics, once you understand how that works, it'll always come out right and exact based upon how you apply the principles of mathematics in the program. And that's what AI is doing. Now, you have AI, then you have AGI, the generative, meaning generating images, generating voice, generating agents, generating all these different things. And once you put this together into one system, right, it becomes another part of the ecosystem, right? And that ecosystem is what we call the economy, right? We're not going to say it's just based upon survival. We're talking about the economy. And this economy, because of the people, they have to understand that these changes are not to replace you personally, it's business. And when you understand that part and begin to learn the skills of what AI is going to do, you'll have those who claim to be knowing about AI and those who've been educated about AI, which is I am one of them who still, I just did a 2 AI marketing courses yesterday, right? I'm learning so much about AI that it is being used as a tool to make my job easier, right? Not to replace me, but to utilize the tools that make my job easier. So now I can create actual agents. See how I'm talking to you? I can create an agent that will be talking to me like I'm talking to you, and I'm telling it what it's supposed to remind me of, and it's doing it.
But how do I know that you're not AI talking to me?
Well, how do I know that you're? We're gonna go back to the Matrix. I'm gonna tell you about the Matrix, right? That movie was a serious movie because Morpheus is telling Neo in the living room, like where I'm sitting at, where you're sitting at. He says, "You have a choice to make. You could take this red pill or this blue pill. Remember, I'm only offering you the truth." He now takes the red pill and he goes, now he said, now this is the construct. Here we can program anything from weaponry to clothing to whatever. And then he switches the gears. He says, this is the real world as you knew it in the 21st century, known as the Matrix. Then he switches again where things is looking crazy. He's in the middle of a disastrous zone. He said, now this is what happened when we marvel at our significance. And Neil says AI. He says, yeah, artificial intelligence, a single intelligence that found out it was conscious. It became aware of itself. Now, how does a machine become aware of itself? Well, guess what we are? We're sentient beings, we're energy. And when we have awareness of our self consciousness, right? When we are conscious of it, we start to do what we're conscious of. That's AI, an extended version. Then Morpheus says this, and for those who haven't watched it, you need to go back to it. AI will become a singularity. It will become so interfaced with the human that you become what we call as a human cyborg. Now, I want you to think about what I just said. Most people cannot function without a phone. They got to have a phone. In my coming up, we didn't have phones unless you was a big drug dealer with the big ass, walkie-talkie phones. We had beepers and we had this one-on-one, face-to-face in your face, and then we also had phones on the corners. Well, the phones left now. So this adaptation, this change, things evolve, and you have to adapt. The same thing happened in the music business, right? First of all, everybody was physical, digital. Then it became the internet. Then it became Web3. Then it became the internet of all things. And now look what we got, streaming that nobody's really getting paid from. You understand? So AI, right? So AI is nothing more than a tool, but how you use that tool is what's going to make the difference, right? And like any tool, you want to use the proper tools to fix the proper problem to formulate a proper solution. And every day AI is changing. You have these different programs, these different formats. You got Grok, you got Gemini, you got Chat GBT 5. You got all these people creating these different levels of AI as far as it relates to what we're getting ready to do now. And unfortunately, there will still be people out here who does not know how to adapt to change, and they'll be caught with loose change, meaning they won't matter. The father of AI, and I'm just going off what he said the other day, and there's many of those who claim to be the father of AI. right? But this one in particular
About Allen Iverson's father? I'm joking. Go ahead.
said, maybe, maybe with the crossover, you know what I'm saying? Said that, we have to be very careful about AI because although it's being used as a tool, it can also make you a slave, right? It'll make you a slave. Now, in our lessons, it talks about how the devil uses you as a tool and a slave and masters you. Well, you can't allow the AI to master you if you got a law's intelligence and it has artificial intelligence. So you still got to be a thinker. The AI is not there to think for you if you're prompting it. You're there to think for it, like any computer, like what we did today on this one screen.
Yeah.
You gave me a link. I followed the instructions. It told me that, hey, this is not going to work with your browser. Switch to Chrome. so I did that, and here we are, right? So it's about what you're inputting to it, and the proper prompts will give you the proper output. And so it's important. It's important for those who want to be skillful, right? In the name of AI, go get your certification. Go get the skills that you need to do. And guess what? When those jobs pop up that they need AI engineers, those who know how to, and you don't need the code. You don't need to do none of that. You just need to know how to prompt and do the right thing as it relates to the message. Now they're hiring you. You know what I'm saying? And those who did not do that, they won't be hired. I just heard, long story short, that the people are losing their jobs. They just cut NBC. They had 300,000 women that got their jobs cut off. So the question now you have to ask yourself, what is the need as opposed to the want? And whatever is needed, that's what you better be doing as it relates to your skill. You got all these kids in school. Half of them, when they come out, they're not going to find a job. Right? But they went to school so they can labor for somebody or something else. The key is, how do you forecast what's going to be here in the next 5 years? You know what I mean? And then you have to be a part of that in advance. So that's how I draw it up.
But what if AI is planning that for you? Then how can you find it out yourself?
Well, again, remember what the AI is. It cannot just function. Now, there are some AI apparatus that are actually learning from other AI platforms. Hence the data mining, and hence the whole data setup. So you got to remember, it's only inputting what we're putting into it, right? It cannot just take information unless we give it information. So we are a part of the exchange between the system and the human, right? It's like anything else. It's what I put. It's like a producer. I'm putting out tracks. So now they got Suno. You prompt it, it comes up with shit better than a producer. You got an artist now that created an avatar AI, got $3 million. You know what I mean? So they're trying to find ways to deal with things in a more cost-effective way, but at the same time, get rid of the headache and have more efficiency. Because sometimes, to be honest with you, and you know this to be true, dealing with people can sometimes be a headache.
I'm going to say humans are headaches.
Dealing with people and all the expectations and the so-called entitlements could be a headache. So what are they doing? You know what? I'm gonna get rid of 50 of you, and only the one person I like and the one person that's about the business, I'm gonna give him or her the job, because now he's gonna program the AI and do all of y'all responsibility and take care of all the things I need to do with one person. Guess what I want to be? That one person. And it's not impersonal, it's business. Right? It's business. And I think even with my background in business, my degrees in business, not that mean anything, it's important to have that kind of mindset that you got to do what's required, not to sell your soul, but to make sure you handle your business so you can survive for what's coming. A lot of people don't know what's coming, said. I hate to tell you that 2026 is going to be disastrous for a lot of people.
Disaster for a lot of people right now. So I can imagine.
That's just so right now, if you're a Bible man, we are actually in the brink of tribulation, right? For those who read the Bible and Revelations, we are in the midst of that. And next year, maybe even before next year, you're going to see something happen in the economy that's going to change everybody's aspect on how you're going to function. And if you're not ready to deal with that, you might as well just go off the grid. And most people don't know how to do that. So yeah, man, it's heavy. It's a heavy sign. Here's what it is, right? We don't have time to play. We don't have time.
But I'm still gonna revert back to this every time I have this conversation.
Yeah.
The Terminator. I mean, like I said, I watched that movie and I saw how
Mhm.
everything we're everything we're doing now
Mhm.
was done in the John Connor era.
Okay. So
And then the robots or the AI was like, you know what? We can do this ourselves. And like
yeah,
I said, I'm kind of being facetious, but at the same time, there could be that possibility because there's a lot of things that we see now that when we were kids, we couldn't imagine, especially like seeing people on the phone, the Jetsons, and all these other things. It's like
it
a
was
lot of seeing people like what we're doing now. It's like,
forecast.
um,
It was
so
forecasted in advance.
I mean that's my question to you. Like, so what if technology does decide that they're going to be smarter and more powerful than humans?
Well, let's just say this: we're in the ultimate chess game. Said there's going to be pawns in the game that's going to have to be annihilated. That's just the facts of life. That's the facts of war. If you ever been to war, I'm not talking about Call of Duty, PlayStation war. I'm talking about real war because I've been there, right? I've been out in the trenches, and all praises due, I'm still here. The reality of war is some people are expendable, and some people, is you have to bite that bullet. You hate to say it that way. Now you talk about the Terminator. Let me ask you this question: if you study that movie like I did, because I was taught to look into things, not at things, right? So, who was the creator of the Terminator arm, which was the premise of the Terminator?
Damn, I was just about to blame white people for everything, but I can't even say that now.
Okay, I'm glad you stood on that because the creator of the Terminator was a black man.
Yes.
A black man. Okay, so let's understand what that means in layman terms. You understand what I'm saying? Let's not blame the white man for what he does naturally. He's gonna do what he do naturally. Listen, he will kill his own for his mission. You know what I mean? And we've seen that happen over the years, wars. We've seen him kill his own to get that mission handled. But when you look at the Terminator and realize it was a black man who created it,
Yeah.
you have to ask yourself, "Oh shit!" And then the Matrix was created by a black woman.
I was just about to say that too.
Morpheus was a black man. The Oracle, a black woman. So it coming right back to us anyway. So why not take what's already ours? We've created. Here's another thing that people don't realize, right? And I'm gonna just say this for all you naysayers out there. We're in space, aren't we? On a thing called Earth, in the middle of a place called the universe, right? Why do you think Trump created the Space Force?
They're trying to get rid of black people. Now let me stop.
Perhaps, right? That may be the first thing people say. There's something going on the galactic level right now that most people in hip hop ain't even talking about. Okay. So why would you create a force to defend yourself from what? That's on its way. Now we're not talking about no conspiracy theory. We're talking about something or something heavy is on its way back. Okay, if you're studying like we supposed to.
Yeah.
So we got to realize we're all going to die one day, right? That may be the other fear factor for
But
many.
not at the hands of the robots. No.
Well, most of it is it's at the hands of our arrogant ignorance, right? AI. Some of us are arrogantly ignorant to the facts of what's being looked at face on. And we cannot be ignorant when you see it face to face. You got to either, as my big brother Dumar would say, you either reject it, accept it, or leave it alone.
Yeah.
I mean, we find ourselves sometimes said in trying to find answers to questions that we cannot answer, and we try to find solutions to problems that we didn't create. But yet, here are more problems coming that we're gonna have to deal with, and either we deal with it face on, or you'll be clicked off. Because in a minute, like they did in Sweden, they're now putting the chip in you in order to function. This was mentioned in the Revelations. You can't buy, sell, without receiving a mark. The mark means for some a target. Now, remember, we're electrical beings. You put a chip in me, who is the energy to keep the chip functioning?
Yeah.
The heart and brain is electrical. Where does that come from? You see what I'm saying? So it's deeper than most people imagine with this AI thing. But you better be an asset to yourself. You better get informed, and you better take action as it relates to what's imperative.
I definitely have to give credit to 19 Keys, because when I spoke to him about 2 years ago,
Yeah.
he was like, it's very pertinent that we do get on the AI train before it's too late. And of course, I brought up the Terminator to him as well. But you've made me realize, especially with Orpheus and like just the connections when it comes to the black mind.
That there you go. There you go.
It's kind of amazing, because if I'm correct, 19 Keys did say it's not the technology, it's who's behind it and how they use it.
Right. Remember,
Gun can be used in a gaming way or whatever, but it also can be used to kill as well.
exactly. So when you talk about black intelligence, the reason why they're so scared, the reason why they are trying to prepare, because they think that as we come together for a common cause, we're going to do to them what they've done to us. They know exactly who we are. They know exactly what it is, and they know exactly what's coming. The problem is we don't know. And most of us don't understand the DNA in us. I'm talking about the God code in us is serious. Why do you think they snatching us up, taking our body parts? They want women's placentas and trying to get the nutrients from, because the black man and the black woman's mind combined as one is nothing to play with. This is why they constantly steal our ideas. They constantly take our information, patent it, controlling it through laws. And not to get even more controversial with the subject matter, but here's what really matters. Without us, they have no industry.
Or know anything.
No anything. I didn't know.
Racism.
No,
They created that.
industry. I said industry. I didn't
No,
say.
I know.
I mean industries. Without us, they have nothing, and that's a fact.
And it's kind of amazing, because now I'm thinking about Wakanda. I'm thinking about the Marvel. I'm thinking about, like, even in fiction, with what we've had in the term of the black land, they're trying to steal it from us, because we've been able to protect ourselves from any and everything.
Even this COVID-19 covert 19 mission they was on, right? They can't understand, even with the shot, how are we surviving? They can't understand that. And that was a military wise, and knowing what I know from the military experience, I had 19 years in the military. That was a biological weapon, right? Biological weapon to take us out, right? And yet we still here. They can't figure that out, and they never going to figure it out, because we've been here from the beginning, and we ain't going nowhere. Yes, many of us will die just like them, but every place they've looked through history, they've seen us first. So that Christopher Columbus shit that y'all teaching our babies, stop that bullshit, because we was here way before Columbus. And they all know that. And that's why they're trying to wipe out our history. They're trying to wipe out our heroes. They're trying to erase, whitewash everything. You know what I mean? Even now, under the Trump administration, these clowns up there, you know what I mean, trying to wipe us out. The problem is we cannot wipe ourselves out. We got to come together now. We got to get smarter. We got to make sure we take care of our own. And we got to make sure that we stay educated and stay functional for what's about to come. Because the Civil War is already here. It just hasn't reached your door yet. You know what I'm saying? But it's here, as you can see. They create chaos to see how you're going, how you're going to react. We call that PRS, problem, reaction, solution. Psychological warfare, economical warfare, right? And once I can get you fighting from the inside, If you ever seen that movie Leave the World Behind in Civil War, study those things. Where you think they get the ideas from? Of what's going to happen, like the Minority Report, right? And all these other movies. If you study these movies, you'll see it's happening right now. Yeah, it's heavy, man. It's a heavy science, man. So, well, like I said, with Hemp, High End Media Partners, what we're just striving to do is to alert these independent artists, alert the people about what this is and how to utilize it to their advantage and not to their disadvantage. Which is why I did my panel yesterday at my school called AI Artist Intelligence. And I wrote a book. It's on Amazon. AI Artist Intelligence, the Independence Guide on Getting Paid in 2025 and Beyond. 24-page pamphlet, costs you $20, but it got a ton of knowledge in there that most people won't give you. And I sold out yesterday with it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, pick it up if you can.
For good reason. I'm just flabbergasted right now because, like, you know, and that's another thing. Like I said, we're having these conversations because, like I said, I'm always going to hear or realize something I hadn't realized of before.
Yeah.
And that robots are taking over. Let me stop. But I mean, even the thought process, and I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't even know where to go now because it's like it just not only caught me off guard, but it just made me think. And yeah, it's good. So what's coming up? What's coming up for Life Griffith? Life a la Griffith.
Yeah. Right. Like I said, I'm in school. I'm trying to get this law thing out the way. I'm studying very hard, man. It's a lot of knowledge and information that you got to obtain in law school and how that is applied to the industry. And that was one of the things I didn't know. I just, like I said, I thought just being loyal and going out there and do what you're supposed to do, but it's so much more you got to learn. So I'm dealing with that. I got a few things coming up. I'm not at liberty to speak about it right now. And I was always taught never to speak about it, just make it happen and everybody will see it. And that's what I need to do. I'm people don't know that I'm a life member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, right? And a lot of things that we do out there is mentoring young men so they can understand what manhood really looks like. So I still do that now as well and still teach the knowledge of self. So for me, man, I'll be 59 in the next couple of weeks and actually the next 10 days. I've been afforded opportunity to be here, man, and I'm so thankful and I'm blessed for that. People don't even know the hardships that I went through, the struggles. People always look at the glamour and glitter, but they never know the hard work that it takes to get there. And right now, man, I'm just looking forward to meeting new people that's on the same mindset as me, growing and evolving and becoming better. Being a better father for those out there. I have 6 children from my time out here. They all grown now, but at the same time, I think it's important that we understand the responsibilities of what that deals with, no matter how old we get. And I'm just going to continue to learn, man, until I take my last breath. I'm going to continue to learn. I'm going to continue to place myself in positions of power and certainty. And how do you do that? Power is not muscles, folks. Power is exercising your ability to think ahead, to get ahead. And that's the real power. It ain't the money neither, because they're getting ready to get away with all the cash money, as you can see. We're moving into a cashless society, as we've always done in the last 5 to 10 or even 15, 20 years now. So when they decide to say that the money is no longer going to be used, you could have $1 million in your room and it won't mean nothing. So learn about the crypto, learn about blockchain, learn about these things that will impact your life. Don't wait till the emergency happens and then start learning. It's too late. And for some of y'all, it's already late.
And that's the problem. That's the issue. And the robots, man. No.
Yeah, remember, it was a black man who created it. Don't forget that part. Yeah, baby. So, but we laugh about it. I know it's a serious topic. I know there are some people who are very fearful of it, but you can't be afraid of nothing. The Bible tells you God never gave man fear. He gave him the spirit of sound mind and power. So use that and make sure that it works for you.
I guess it's the same as when our parents were younger and like when CDs came out or DVDs and things of that nature.
Right.
So I understand the concept when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
I guess because just like our parents and our grandparents, when they look at the advances of technology, and like grandparents saying they used to walk 2 miles to school and now y'all can just get on the bus anytime, like
Yeah.
I don't have any children, but I guess I could tell my niece and nephews, their children, that when they're transporting to school,
That may
via
be
Star
fine.
Trek,
Right. They may be using right now. They got the autonomous taxis running around. Nobody's driving.
yeah, that's scary.
Right?
That's
Nobody's driving, right? But somebody's going somewhere in it. You know what I mean?
I'm
So
gonna tell you what's scary, because I saw a news report where the cops was trying to stop them for speeding, and they realized nobody was in it, and it's like, I guess the car had a mind of its own and said, "I'm going to go as fast as I want because I want to."
right, somebody's controlling it in the back, right? Somebody's more controlling it in the back. But the point is, this is what's happening. I seen the other day. I'm with Rocky B from the Hip Hop Museum. He came out to LA. We had you chopped it up a little bit. And as we finished having lunch, we walk outside and there's a robot on the corner. You're waiting for, listen to this, waiting for the light to change in order to cross. I'm looking at him. He looking at me like, yo, this is what it is now, yo. I'm like, yo, it's getting more crazy and crazy. But either you become a part of that technology, become a part of that skill set and learn and be a part of that, that reality and that exchange, or you'll be casted aside. You look at, as you talked about, many of us who was in the game are not in the game no more, right? I remember Darian Dash, Damon's brother.
That's funny because I want to talk to him too. But yeah, funny you brought him up. But go ahead.
Dash came to me one day. Me and him was always cool, you know what I mean? With my family member Clark Kent, and all praises due to him, and all. He married my cousin Clark Kent, Keisha. So he came to me one day and said, "Yo, Life, this internet shit get ready to change everything, bro." I said, "What you saying?" He said, "Yo, this internet thing, people are sleeping on it. Don't sleep on it." I remember he used to go out and do panel discussions about it. I embraced that shit immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately when he told me that, I said, "Oh shit, I got to be." And then we found out the internet was created by the military-industrial complex, used as a way of communication for nuclear war. Now, I say nuclear war, right? If you watch the movie The Matrix, watch what Morpheus tells Neo when he explained it. He said, "We marveled at AI. It was them who started it first. We don't know who came first or what happened, but it was us who scorched the sky." So, what that tells me, just from a movie standpoint, there may be some nuclear shit that's about to happen. And everybody ain't ready for that. I'm letting you know. Some people are not ready. As we can see, this guy Trump, he's on a real mission. He's lost.
He might be a robot.
We never know. He could be a reptile for all we know. You know what I'm saying? Because he sure is acting like one. You know what I'm saying?
The way his hands look right now.
Listen, listen, man. I'm gonna tell you, bro, and I ain't gonna lie. I don't lie. I got some footage on my camera here of some shit I seen. I never told anybody about it because your life must be going crazy. All that war shit, he must be going crazy. No, this is some shit I actually witnessed. Took the video. I shared it with one Marine friend of mine who's a pilot, a helicopter pilot. He's like, "Yo, Life, I seen some shit too, but we not at liberty to talk about it. So don't be amazed with this Project Blue Beam that they're gonna do with the aliens coming, hieroglyphic shit in the air. Get ready for all of that because they're getting ready to do that on another level. Look what the war secretary and his clown ass told all his generals and all the top commanders from every branch and put it on TV. What stupid moron does that? You're degrading your own military in front of the whole world. And then at the end, you say, "We're the War Department. Move out, keep tracking, and get prepared." Get prepared for what? That means you are actually instigating what you're about to do. So that's my warning to all of you out there. You better get ready. And I don't mean for Jesus, right? For those who still waiting for him. I'm talking about get ready for the real shit that's about to pop off. And you better be ready because if you're not, you're gonna be sadly mistaken. And that's coming from somebody who's been in the military, who knows, not somebody on Call of Duty PlayStation thinking that I'm doing some soldier shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's heavy, man. It's deep. We can go on and on and on, but I don't want to bore you with continuous AI talk. But man, I've come a long way, man. I've seen a lot. I'm hoping I can go a little further before my time is up. And man, it's just it's a lot, man. But remember, my friends is better than yours. Make sure you understand that.
I'm thinking about how I can create some robot repeller type.
Well, see, that's just a part of it. You got to create, and we're all creators. It's just a matter of what is going to be needed for that creation, and how can you monetize the creation.
This is how I'm going through life right now with AI.
I already know, and you and many others, to be honest. I mean, you and many others, but hey, like anything else, man, you have to, adapt to the change, become a part of the exchange, and become a part of the solution. Don't extend to the problem. Be a part of that solution. Get your skills up. Go and get some certifications done, and don't be apprehensive to the fact that the whole world is changing, and you got to change with it. You
Yep.
know. So, but yeah, man.
I've taken up enough of your time, and
Nah,
you've given me more than enough to think about, if
well,
nothing else.
well, one of the things that I attribute to, man, and this is I pray all praises due to the brothers who educated me. You got to think. You got to think, and you got to learn, and you got to study, and you got to put things in motion. We call that show and prove. When you show and prove, there's nothing to say because you showed and you proved it. You know what I mean? So that's what it's about now. You know what I mean? Allah is seen and heard everywhere. You know what I mean? But he got to be the all eye seeing. He got to be the eyewitness to what others will bear witness to. And I'm just doing my part and hope that what was shared today, although it was laughter and memories, is some real shit that's going down. You got to be ready for it, man. You got to be really ready for it.
Evidently, we have to be ready for it. No.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, man. So I'm here for those that want to engage. I'm always
information. So if people want to
be on the IG at ATM Partners. That's Hemp Partners, one word. You can go to my website and kind of get a feel of my background at www.highempartners.org. And then if you're really about that life and you're really about that business, you know what I mean? Let's connect and seeing how we can, put some things in motion. But here's what I will say. If you're not really ready, don't waste my time bullshitting around. You know what I mean? Because we got a lot of people out here bullshitting around. I ain't got time for that. But I want to thank you, said man. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your platform, man. Thank you for extending your ear and your right hand. And I'm hoping that we can continue to stay in links and keep watching, brother, because I'm getting ready to do something even bigger and better in a minute.
I'm definitely watching as I prepare for the
right. Prepare for the annihilation that's coming. Right, that part. Well, here's the funny thing, right? You can't be afraid to die, so you won't be afraid to live. You got to live your life, man. And once your life is over, the key is, what did you leave here with? What did you do that made a difference? Who did you impact? Right? And I've been afforded
to scraps.
A lot of people, So, but thank you, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
I wasn't too over talkative, long-winded, but this is a very important, and this is a very important platform because you got to have friends, real friends. Everybody ain't just there. You know what I mean? So, but soul for sure.
I gotta start rechecking like my friends when I see them, go behind their neck to see if there's any pieces or anything.
Yeah, well, that's coming, man. They're gonna mandate that soon.
I don't know if it's coming. It's probably already here. Shit.
Yeah, it is in some places already. I was in Thailand a few years ago. They was doing it out there. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter before it reaches here. You know what I mean? Yep. And you're gonna have some people that's gonna take it, and some people that's going to go in survival mode. You know what I mean? And when that happens, there's no turning back after that.
Definitely.
So.
Well, thanks once again. I do appreciate your time, your wisdom, and scaring me a little.
Yeah, it's all right, brother.
The insight was definitely mind blowing, so to speak. And like I said, it's sometimes things are there. You just have to have somebody point it out to you.
Oh yeah.
Because the minute it's like with the Terminator movies, like, well, who was the one that created it? I'm like, damn it, I can't blame it on a white man this time.
No. Remember, he's going to do exactly what he was born to do. Right? He was born to be an adversary. He was born to create problems. He was born to divide. That's what he was born to do. And his history shows that. I'm not saying nothing that nobody don't know. They're paying attention. Even if he's listening right now on this platform, he knows that we know that about him. You know what I mean? The question is, what do we know about ourselves? And that's what we got to get to. We got to get back to knowing ourselves, knowing our capability, knowing our true power, and stand on it as men and women, for real.
Definitely.
But anyway, brother, I appreciate you, man. Don't be a stranger, my brother. You know what I mean? Keep me in the loop, man.
Definitely.
And man, to all your listeners out there, make sure you support the Industry Cosign, support this brother. Been doing a lot of great things, man, and support his platform. Make sure you tune in and make sure you pay attention to the details so that you don't end up broke.
And for everyone that stayed to the end, thanks for staying. And as I always say, my friends are better than yours. And if you don't believe me, or if you think you have better friends, show them my way, and I'll prove to you that either they're already my friends or you're wrong. Thanks again, Life Griffith. Until the next time, peoples. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.